you know, loving lessons and teaching gratitude and appreciation and, just recalibrating his humanity. But no, I don't think evolution or a creator really needs to be brought up when you're trying to rehabilitate someone. Probably just makes things worse.
It
What's the
works for
purpose of
Jeffrey Dahmer.
morality?
Oh, sorry, Taylor, go ahead.
What's the purpose of morality at that point? Why be good? What's the purpose?
For goodness sake.
What is good?
I hope you're not being good just under threat or because someone told you to. I hope you're
What is
good for
good?
goodness sake.
What's good?
Good? What is
Good.
good?
Yeah.
Oh, geez, that's a sad question for someone to ask.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Try to
What's your
bottle it
moral
up
foundation?
in
What is
words.
your foundation for morals?
What is love? What is good?
Yeah, what are they?
They're love and they're good. These types of
Is
things,
that
you can
arbitrary? Is it subjective?
I can show you examples of love. I can show you examples of goodness. I'm not going to try to define them in their whole essence. I think you should already know what they. I think everyone can just tap into that themselves. But be good for goodness sake, because good is better than bad, and bad is worse than good.
Well, what if somebody says, I think it's good to go and do ethnic cleansing? Then how would we determine what is?
Should probably have the best conversation with them you possibly can.
What is our foundation for good? Is good what's the best for me, or what's the best for something else?
Age-old question, but everything has to be evaluated on an individual basis. When you try to start using like one size fits all sort of written down laws or definitions, you're gonna easily have holes poked into whatever you say.
Like, 1 + 1 equals 2. Try and poke a hole in it.
Have something that's subjective. They say do what's good, and they think it's good to go and do ethnic cleansing. Then how can we convince them what's our foundation for what good is? I mean, I know it's a tough question, but this is kind of where it goes back to morality and the origin of morality. And yeah, there's deeper implications for that conversation.
I don't think I need to know the origins of it to decide how I feel about it.
They could just say, I think what I did was fine. And what would make you tell them otherwise? What foundation would you have to tell them otherwise?
I would share my thoughts on the matter.
Okay. Now, I don't know how much that would change them, but okay.
Well, that's how people change each other's minds. You express your thoughts to them, and then they express their thoughts to you.
But you have no logic behind your thought.
If someone said, I think this is a good thing to do, or this is the right choice, and I disagreed, I'd hope we would both have our thoughts on why we think that way, and we'd have a conversation and see where they overlap and see where they don't. And maybe I'm the one who would have my perspective corrected.
I'm just saying, why should it matter? So what if they do? If they hurt other people, it doesn't matter anyway. Why
does anything matter? What's the meaning of life?
Good question. Maybe we should talk about it.
There you go. Taking a page out of my book.
Yeah, that's what I'd want to talk to them about. Why it's important.
All right. Express your opinions on what the meaning of life is.
Yeah, we're a creation. Made to grow a relationship with our creator and be the hands and feet of him.
Why?
Are you just going to get on chain of whys?
No, I mean, just one layer.
That's how it was created to be, I think that if you answer my questions, I'll continue to answer yours. Because I think we're just, I think I gave you a sufficient answer though.
Yeah. I just want to go one layer deep into the why. The meaning of life is to feed our creator.
That's so funny. Okay. Just understand that you're asking me questions, then you want it.
Come on, don't get all weird all of a sudden.
But it's
don't get all strange all of a sudden.
I'm just making that all.
Come on. All right.
Just want that.
I think a better question than why is what's the argument for that?
No, next. No, I would love to answer more questions. I don't like not answering questions. I just want you to understand that I'm open to answering questions.
All right, this conversation is derailed. Let's someone else or something better.
I just think if we're going to try to change people, then we need to have some sort of foundation. Just sharing our thoughts. I don't know how profound that would be on somebody as to answering the reason we should do good. Because before I believed in God, I thought that why would I want to do good? It doesn't matter. It's all meaningless. That's how I felt about it. So I think establishing there is a reason to do good is really important.
Let's be honest. I mean, I know kids that just want to do good. without knowing God at all. You know what I mean? Not even hearing about God, not understanding God, and they still want good. They're just innocent children. They're beautiful. I'm not saying God isn't speaking through them, though. I'm not. But I'm just saying you don't necessarily have to know God to still want that good, though.
You don't have to
It's just like I
rationally
was just saying,
like
what's the
mentalize
foundation
and
for what is
logic.
good?
You don't need to like logically break down and like rationally analyze, uh, you know, loving your mom. Like love is something of the heart. You can definitely see how the mind approaches the understanding of the heart, but don't get too carried away that the only way to like know what's right and wrong is by being able to explain like some sort of set of written laws or something perfectly defining your terms.
Didn't you just logically rationalize that answer though?
I'm communicating my thoughts to you, man. I don't really know what you just said, but yeah, I'm expressing my thoughts through language.
Well, like, didn't you have to logically rationalize that thought that you can't logically rationalize love?
I didn't say you can't. I said, just like Stace was saying a second ago, people are loving and caring for others long before they have some sort of a systematic analysis of how to define terms and explain it to another person.
Yep, yep. I would argue that's because Jesus Christ died and resurrected and put that on your heart to do. Yeah.
Oh, you guys are so freaking weird.
But we're not talking about children in this context. Children aren't running the world, and children aren't in prison. They're protected from going to prison. We're dealing with adults, and the people who are running this world are. I'm sure people would agree that some of them have already made allegiance to Satan.
Well, are you asking them we should give them mercy as for their sins?
The truth, primarily, because when they receive the ultimate truth, they'll want to do the right thing, just like most people.
Well, isn't they say the wicked will be given death, or they'll be giving what will they be given if they still don't turn, even though the truth is in their face?
But
Because
you're gonna need to know what good is to determine what wicked is.
Yeah.
well,
And Taylor was,
we're giving the responsibility to God that He will do the right thing to whatever they're going to do with the wicked. It's not my power to punish them.
yeah, that's right. Our job is to give them the truth, the word of God. That's what happened to Jeffrey Dahmer, and if I'm not mistaken, even Ted Bundy. I have their testimonies on my channel. I'll post it. One moment.
Do you think those guys deserve to be in heaven, Eden?
Great question. I would be
Forgiven.
if they changed their heart, I would feel safe that they were in heaven for sure.
I wouldn't.
I know that's true. The Creator is more merciful than man, but I'm sure you guys have seen some families who have forgiven some of their victims. Sorry, their perpetrators. They've given them mercy, and sometimes you'll even see the perpetrator. They'll cry because they accept it as well, the forgiveness.
What about a guy that's been pretty good, like compared to Dharma, a billion times good, but then doesn't believe? Will he go to heaven?
It's not. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
That's okay. If you want, feel free to share your thoughts. Did you want to share?
Well, I think you want to give it context, Flatty, because you're saying that someone's really, really good, right? But does all the charity, but does not believe in the Christian God. He will not be going to heaven, right?
Yeah, bro.
It's not our decision. Didn't you just say we don't make that decision, and then you propose a question like that we can make that decision?
Say that again, dude. I think you cut out at the beginning, or I missed it.
No matter what you believe in, God still says you'll be judged based on what you did on this earth, whether good or bad.
I got you. Okay. Thanks, Taylor.
But like you said, we can't, we can't obviously speak for God,
And Jesus did talk. Oh, that's true, Taylor. Thank you. In the parable of the great banquet, it's a story of a man who threw a generous party. He gave invitations because to throw a really well designed party where people are going to have one of the greatest times of their life, it takes a lot of thought and preparation. So you have to send out invitations. Essentially, everybody has been given the invitation. You know about the Bible, you know about heaven, but some people are literally rejecting their invitation. So, I mean, there'll be a time when the party comes, but if you didn't give your RSVP, you can't really blame the Creator for rejecting the invitation. In the story of the great banquet, essentially when the party came and no one was showing up, all the priests supposedly he sent his people out to go find out why. And when they found out, gave such bad reasons for not going to the party. So the story goes, he went and sent out his servants to get all the lame, the sick, and they happily took up the invitation. And when they got there, it was better than they ever anticipated.
So the only power we have is just to worship God and just wait for His gracious to give us, or just give us what we needed, right?
Well,
Whatever He needs.
sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just going to say, I would add is also to seek and save, because it's not just about saving ourselves. Imagine you have the truth. Imagine, okay, you're the only one in the world that was given the truth, and you don't save other people. That's kind of selfish. I don't think the Creator wants that. That's why we're instructed to go seek and save, plant the seeds of truth, so people can hear. Some people have never heard.
Yeah, just properly coexist. I mean, it's common sense. Just properly coexist with all the troubles and the good and the bad that brings. Get on with it. You know, it was already, the hard work's already been done. The earth that's flat has been created. Now live on it. Let's see how you get on, because when you pass on, I'm going to be asking you, what did you do on my flat earth? Okay, if you can imagine. So just get on with it.
Well, the thing is, the whole concept of these wicked people that, we should not give them punishment, right? Or the consequences. We kind of like have to forgive them because they have all these little lies in their head that became this wicked person. And somehow we have to be someone has to be a miracle worker to fix these people.
Yeah, they have to be segregated from the rest of the population for a while, because cognitively something's gone wrong. Okay, now hopefully we have psychiatrists with integrity here who are not just going to be pumping drugs and putting it under the carpet. They're going to try and work out what's gone wrong. And if we can work out what's gone wrong, and put their cognitive process back on the rails, they can come back in. I mean, we've got to get on with it. I don't see a problem with that.
Some re-education camps.
Oh, that's more of an educational concept, but you're not going to put people's price in it, right?
Well, they have those camps, quote unquote camps right now, prisons.
Yo, imagine if you buy a car, right? And in the instruction manual, it tells you got to change the oil every 3,000 miles. And then you don't do that. And then your car blows up. And then you're mad at like the guy who made the car. You know what I mean? Like there's like an instruction manual for life, dude. And that's what the whole
no,
point
but then there's
is.
times like when you're sitting there and you change your effing oil and you're like, why is my car breaking down? I changed the oil. What is going on here? And it's just the way it rolls and the punches. And you're asking God, why? God, why?
Yeah, and that's why, that's the beauty of it, is you're supposed to find blessings in all of it, because like gold is refined through fire, and that's like a beautiful thing. So anytime you're being like in a tough or sticky situation, you should feel blessed, because you're never put through too much. You can always handle it. You'll always be able to get through it, and you'll get through it and be stronger on the other side.
No, you had the wrong translations, Dave.
I had to put it out there, because sometimes we'll change that oil and it won't matter. But you get my drift.
Yeah, you still get cancer.
Exactly.
The book tells you how to heal from that as well.
Like secondhand smoke, right? That's not your fault or whatever, right?
What might be my friends I'm hanging around, or it could be my mom. I mean,
Word. Thank you, Stacey, for understanding that.
I forget what made this come in my mind. It's something someone said a minute or two ago, but I want to bring up the expression "misery loves company." But I heard a story that sort of proves that the opposite is also true. Happiness also loves company. If you know that comedian Andrew Schultz, he's wealthy, but he tells the story of going and taking MDMA for the first time. He describes it as the first time he's ever felt overflowing with happiness. And instead of going partying or listening to music, whatever, he walked away from the festival, and he just like sat in his car and just called every one of his friends and family and just tried to say something to them that made their day. Because sure, misery loves company, but happiness also loves company.
Oh, that's epic, dude.
So true. That's why we love throwing parties.
Yeah, when you feel satisfied in life, like I'm good to go. I got everything I need. You're not searching for things for satisfaction. You just like feel content. You're just like, oh shit, I want everyone around me to also feel this way. This is great. Everyone should feel like me.
Yeah, and laughter can be contagious too.
And a smile. So true. Making someone laugh and smile is a pretty fun experience. And I think it's like gift giving. It's a present in itself.
Yo, do you think that content though sometimes is like settling? You know what I mean? Like, or is it always like good? You know what I mean? Like,
It can be.
Yeah, it seems to me like every time I think about something and I break it down deep, there's never like a black and white thing. You know what I mean? There's always like this gray area of everything.
Well, like there's like people in prison like who get like life sentences, right? I'm sure there's nuns, like my aunt was a nun who did this, right? Just went and tried to make the people with life sentences on death row just like feel okay. And you know, a lot of them thanked her for that. Because even if you're in a shitty situation, why not let it get to you as much? I don't know. Is that kind of cucky behavior? I really don't know. Like, but honestly, what's the point? What's the point in ever being like upset unless you're gonna like transmute it into motivation, right? Like the angry kid in all those Disney Channel movies who directs his anger towards some sort of positive outlet. But even if there isn't a positive outlet, like I guess at that point, why? I don't know. It's just it's almost impossible not to feel sad or mad when shitty things are happening to you. Although that reminds me of that famous image of the monk who sat still in protest, who lit himself on fire. And it's like that right there, that's self mastery over your emotions right there. Just no, light myself on fire. I'm not even going to react. I'm just going to burn to death, just sitting still. That's superpowers right there. That's self mastery.
Yeah, a lot of Christians were sent to the flames as well for trying to release the Bible to the people. It's a great point.
I was just watching a video of, oh, I forgot the guy's name, but he's some famous guy for like releasing the Bible in English. You
William
know,
Tyndale.
yeah, that's the guy. The printing press already had been invented, right? But still there was the debate of like, we want people to come to church with the priest with his back turned to you and just read the whole thing in Latin, and no one knows what you're even saying. You're just kind of honored to be in the presence of someone reading the Bible, even though you don't even understand it or whatever. But then he's like, yeah, I think we should just like let people read it themselves in their own mother tongue of their land. And that was a rough transition, I heard.
Oh my goodness, he was absolutely. Supposedly, they were so angry at him. The Vatican. I was told this by an atheist because we were in a. I was in a. We were having a discussion about this, and I mentioned William Tyndale, and he says, "Did you know that they were so angry at him that they literally dug up his remains and blew them up with some sort of dynamite?" I'm gonna have to double check that, but
So when you were talking about people being angry or them, I'm sorry, Christians trying to give the Bible to people, you must be referencing something after him, right?
uh,
Because you couldn't
no,
really give it to the people before that, right? You could only give it to Latin speaking people, and still that wasn't even like a welcome.
yeah, essentially because they were speaking German and English, they were on the new code of language, and supposedly they were duped into what it actually says. There was a man named Erasmus who inspired Martin Luther and Tyndale because Erasmus put on one page what the scriptures actually said, and then put on the other side what the Latin or what they were telling the people, and they realized quickly that they were complete liars. So they were kicked out of Germany at one point, Switzerland, England, the Vatican, but they never gave up that battle because they want world domination. But you're right, yeah. So it wasn't until after they did I think they put him to the flames, William Tyndale, for doing it in English. Martin Luther was able to avoid the Vatican. But yeah, many martyrs for translating. And some people say that, yeah, he helped standardize English today, William Tyndale. And the problem arose, Fundy, was there was a time where supposedly he was tutoring one of the knights' family members, right? And the priest was there for dinner, and it got into a conversation of the Pope not believing the scripture and the priest saying, "I trust the Pope more than this book." And that's when William Tyndale said, that one day I'm gonna make sure that the plowboy knows more about this book than the Pope himself."
Oh, that's interesting that you say plowboy, because in the video I was just watching earlier, it said William. It was like a supposed quote. I want I want princes and plowboys to be equally like accessible to the Bible. So I guess he loved this plowboy word. I guess it's a good. I mean, if you're gonna choose some sort of blue collar labor, plowboy is probably bottom of the barrel good reference.
Yeah, definitely. So I think goodness for brave men like this. Imagine, Funny, let's put ourselves in that position. You and I are Englishmen living in England, and we realize these Romans were lying to our family for 1,000 years, killing people, stealing from us. Wouldn't we be upset that, hey, these guys aren't, what they're telling us in the book is completely opposite? That's what happened. People kick them out of the country. But
Yeah, you don't even have to be a Christian to be on the same page as you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I mean, I don't think there should be anything that should be like kept from other people, like any amount of information. I guess I don't know. What do you think about the argument of like you can't handle the truth? Do you think that's ever like justifiable, where like some class of elites or something doesn't share information with the masses because it would cause the upheaval, you know?
Yes,
Panic.
some information.
Panic.
Yeah, definitely. Some information would probably be best suited for adults and not children. So, but to your point, unfortunately, that's not what they were doing at the Vatican, because they were selling forgiveness for 1,000 years. And it got so out of
Right.
hand that they started selling for people who are already dead.
That was Martin Luther who made a big stand against that, right?
Oh yeah, and Martin Luther for Germany and William Tyndale for England.
There you go. Didn't he walk up with like a list of like 100 like complaints and nail it to the church door?
Yeah,
That's a
99.
pretty cool story.
Oh, yeah.
99 problems.
To answer your question, I don't think any knowledge should be occulted from people if it's the truth. So what? It causes an upheaval for what? A day?
Well, actually,
Right.
some truth does, like, we can't have all the knowledge. Like, the Creator obviously keeps us in ignorance for some kind of reason, right? Like, we don't have all the knowledge
person on person though.
Okay, yeah, I hear you.
But I
Just
mean,
talking about
Eden had a
truth
good
and
point though. You don't tell kids everything. You know what I mean? So I guess that's an exception. I wouldn't try to cram as much truth into a kid as possible. You know, you gotta pace those things out, I guess.
Yeah.
So sometimes we lie to the children, right? You know, the bees in the hive, all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't
Well, I
think
wouldn't
that's.
lie to my kid about anything. I would just say I'm not gonna answer you right now, but I will later.
I totally have problems with keeping truth occulted and secret societies. Oh, it's for the greater good. Fuck off. I don't think that's true.
Well, of course, you know, keeping knowledge that does become leverage, right? Because I know something that you don't, so there's leverage of how can I negotiate whatever I want from you, right?
Yeah, and leverage is
Absolutely.
basically using power. You create power by having leverage and having something that the other person doesn't, and then taking advantage of that fact. That's evil. That's what secret societies do.
But like,
They
say there was like a phrase that could automatically give someone a heart attack. Like, you wouldn't want to tell people that, right?
Okay, you got a point there.
Or a karate chop that I can kill you, right? Just one karate chop.
I don't know. I mean, that's pushing it to an extreme.
I know, I'm just kidding.
Thankfully, I think
want-
children.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you guys are maybe changing my mind right now. Should all knowledge that anyone has be made universally accessible? And if there's a really if there's like a weapon that only costs $10 in resources to build but can kill 1,000 people, I got to think about this honestly. Although you don't want that knowledge to only be in one person's hands either, because that's also leverage over everyone else. So
Yeah.
the solution to that would be everyone else knowing, or enough people knowing. So
It's just like guns. It's just like
excellent
guns,
sense, Fundy.
right? But just think about guns, right? The safest places in America are people who have the most guns, right? Legal access to guns. Criminals don't want to rob someone who's fucking loaded. It's the same thing. As soon as you level the playing field, then it doesn't become a weapon anymore.
That's right, bro.
It's still a weapon. It's still a weapon. When everyone had swords, another guy with a sword still had a weapon. It was just an even playing field. But man, I wish we could just go back to the. I don't want to go to fucking internet and stuff like that. But as far as weapons technologies, I just wish we could go back to the day where the best you had was a sword. That sounds fair. I like that better. Now a 5-year-old can kill a grown man with a gun because it's just a great leveling, or the great field level. You know the expression I'm trying to say.
You know what?
You
don't want your girlfriend to have the ability to defend herself against a man who's going to rape her.
That's the problem right there.
Oh, I absolutely do.
No, he needs
I don't know.
he needs to negotiate first. That's what he should do.
It's not funny. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, basically, there's this notion that you do have that. I think that
Your mother will be able to defend herself against the man, whereas before there's no chance.
Well, if you keep her barefoot and pregnant and chained to your oven, you should be fine.
All technology is a double-edged blade, so you got a good point there, Noah. It is great that she can have that power, but it also sucks that the power in the wrong hands. But what's your answer to the question? Like, if there were instructions on the internet published where it only costs $10 and anyone can resource the materials from Walmart, and with $10 you can build a weapon that can easily kill, almost guaranteed, 10,000 people. Is that information you would try to hide, or would you counteract that information being in someone's hands by giving that knowledge to everyone, so everyone has this weapon that's so accessible, that's so deadly?
I think it's the way we organize society at the moment. We're organizing society based off of scarcity. Everyone has a scarcity mindset, right, with resources. But if the truth was that resources could be abundant and non-scarce, then we would reorganize our society that way. And that's the truth. Like, the only reason why there's limitations is because they're manufactured limitations. They're fake. Like, we have free energy. There's ways like, we can use helium from uranium, right? Like, we can literally use nuclear material and get free energy, but they basically occulted that and basically make everyone pay $1,000 a month in electricity bills.
So that's the true conspiracy of the unlimited or abundance of resources, as you say, because it's not. You're saying free energy, but it's not free, but it's just abundance of energy or resources.
Sure.
Yeah, why would you fight your neighbor if he had the same resources that you do?
Well, I was saying earlier a couple of times, Beast, most crimes, especially violent crimes, are done out of desperation.
Yeah, see, exactly. If there's no desperation, if everyone had abundance, then you wouldn't even feel the need to attack your neighbor for the same resource that you're able to grow yourself or whatever.
However, haven't you seen that episode of Fairly Odd Parents where he wishes for everyone to just be identical gray blobs, and they still find things to, bully each other about, even though everyone looks identical?
Yeah, that's different. That's more about identity. I'm talking about, like, in the real world, like resources.
But there's some resources that are limited and like a really like unavoidable, like when it comes to a peninsula, right? Only one person can have the southernmost beachfront property, right? And so everyone up the coast is going to be in a less desirable real estate location. And there's some things that just can't be shared and dispersed equally. So there's always going to be arguments over shit.
A woman can only have more or less one child every 9 months. And that's only for the years between 16 and 35. That's a limitation. You can only fit this much matter within something. That's this material. That's density. It's a natural limitation. Everything in the universe is naturally finite and limited that we observe everywhere in reality. It's all we observe is limitations. We don't really observe anything that's unlimited. Sorry.
That's why it's important not to covet, right? Not to want what someone else has.
Right. Gratitude is, a great thing to practice. I agree with you, Beast. There is an abundance here and we shouldn't be fighting over it. And a lot of things are abundant, I mean. And if we can just solve all like the major sort of feelings of desperation people have, food, shelter, water, right? The rest of it is just like petty disputes. And so there won't be like wars over petty disputes.
The problem with that is the certain populations of people will literally expand until they starve. Like in Africa, whenever you feed them, they just produced enough children so that they can start starving again. So it's not it's a problem that you're not going to solve by just giving out free food.
I think it's manufactured, though. I think the scarcity is manufactured, honestly.
No, what I'm telling you is if you relieve the scarcity and give them double the food, they literally double in population and start starving again. The only thing that keeps their population in check is starvation.
You know what the solution to that is, right? Is you have to change the values of people. So people have to have different values.
Right.
Exactly.
So that's not giving them food. You would not be providing them an abundance.
The abundance is already provided for the earth. Like, there's plenty around. But what people value is manufactured, right? It's, I need to get this car. I need to get this materialistic item because that'll make me happy. But it's all bullshit.
Oh, yeah. You could start with something even simpler. Like a simple value would be like, when I receive money, I don't spend all of it. You know what I mean? Like, that's an easy value. And I think that would be one that could really help a lot of people to get out of poverty. You know what I mean?
I like where this is going, though, getting everyone on the same page. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Don't mind it. Alex is just me and Alex. What did you say, Bugatti?
Love Alex. Yeah, I like where this is going, though. I would agree that if everyone got on the same page, then there'd be a lot less fighting and hostility. It's all about getting on the same page. But that's the thing. We're living in an age of information, right? The age of misinformation.
On the same page, man. I got people who don't even want to speak English to me and damn well can speak English. They're like, don't understand. I'm like, how see you? Nobody's going to be ever on the same page, unfortunately. Because there's just people hanging out in this world that, as much as we love people, there's just some shitty people. Let's be real. Never gonna be on the same page, guys, because people are divided too much at this point, and we need to get past some of our bullshit. You know what I mean? Within each other as human beings.
Hurt people hurt people.
Yo, if only we
Amen to
had
that.
some like something external to ourselves and like laid out guidelines for values and morals and whatnot that we could just point to rather than having to like, philosophize about it.
Yeah, gas. Great point, Torah.
Yeah.
So one thing that's been guaranteed in history is war. So that's one thing that seems to be just continuing. So are we going to participate or try to end these wars?
Well, not all war is immoral, right? Like, if someone's coming to take your land.
A lot of people do benefit from these wars, right? It's like try to convince all these people to not benefit. But I like Bisicle's take, right? Like the whole concept of abundance, right? It's just it's a hard to shape because a lot of people are kind of in a scarcity mindset, and wars come out of this because people feel that there is a scarcity. We have to take land. We have all these differences, but I don't know. It's one of those things that how would you come to a harmony of people saying we're all the same? We should not kill anybody, but at the same time, like you're saying, people like war.
Why you think you think the Russia-Ukraine thing is over scarcity? Over land?
Or power positions?
I think.
Well, those
I
are
think that's
scarce. Power positions.
I think that's a bankers' war. Specifically, weapons contractors basically creating new contracts to basically destroy the place and then rebuild the place, just like they did with Afghanistan. The same thing. I mean, and then you got what's his face, fucking the southern guy saying like, well, they got trillions of dollars of worth of minerals underneath Ukraine and Crimea. We need to go get that. Again, that goes back to the scarcity mindset.
So it's like there's an ulterior motive there of scarcity, even though that might not be the major reasoning, right? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, it definitely is a proponent. Like, we need the minerals underneath that land, and we can't let Russia get it. So let's create all this political theater to disguise our true motives. I mean, it's just fucked up. Meanwhile, Russians and Ukrainians and Americans are basically dying, young men and women and children are just dying because of what? Something that's not scarce to begin with. All war is like, I think it's a tool. It's like Satan's tool, bro. Fucked up.
Couldn't they just play a game of chess, Like, what the heck, man?
I mean, how could you justify, killing someone when it's like literally thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not kill? It's one of the commandments. Like, I don't see how any Christian could support a war.
Well, I mean, it depends on like what you're talking about, like, you know what I mean? Because like murder, there are justifications for murder, right? Like if someone is trying to kill you, you kill that person first, right? Some people would call that self-defense and justify it, right?
Or what do you think would say about that? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh.
Is there something in scripture about that?
I was going to go back to you.
About that?
Yeah, there is. It's an eye for an eye. Yeah.
Well, won't you have a tranquilizer or a rope him first, and then talk to him? Say, hey, man, I need you to forgive your sins.
Hey, Eden.
I don't know.
It's funny how it's funny how what you're saying, it could be the truth, but like if I were an enemy country and I wanted to have the easiest time taking over another country, that's exactly the type of thing I would want them to believe, right? What you're saying about, just don't even raise your arms against your enemy and God will work his magic, no offense by that word, but work his magic to protect you as long as you don't have any desire to fight back or cause them any harm. It's like, maybe that is the truth. And maybe if everyone did get on the same page of just like non-resistance or whatever, just pacifism, maybe that would have a holy effect on the enemy. However, even though that's a possibility that you're promoting, it is also the exact identical message your enemy would want you to believe as well. Like, yes, my enemy, believe that the best thing for you to do is to just not even fight back.
Well, that's why sometimes I don't detect bloodlust, right? Like the whole concept of you feel the aura of them. We're gonna kill you regardless of what you say. So you just respond back with the concept of your blood or you killing them. But if you can't detect that, I don't know. That's of course maybe you want to be pacifistic and don't want to kill them, just karate chop them, put them to sleep. But I don't know. It's like it's weird sometimes. Like it all
I mean,
depends
you
on the
can make it
situation.
easier. You can make it easier. The guy has a gun pointed to your wife's head, and he's holding her captive, and you have the ability to. You have a shot on him. You know what I mean? Like, do you do it?
Hey, for the first time in a long time, a few minutes ago, I agree with Torah. First time in a long time. But when you said step one, or the most important thing to do, is change the values people have, that does seem to be at the root of any big solution.
You better
Gotta
have some
change the values.
Dora, you have some worse enemies to get to be in that situation, man.
Yeah, well, thank you, Fundy, bro. I appreciate what you say too, brother.
But yeah, I mean, isn't like it's so simple. If everyone was wise, there would not be very many problems on Earth. Or if
I know
everyone
it
had
seems
good
like such a
values, there wouldn't be any problems.
it seems like such a simple concept, but it's very hard to actually, I guess, enforce, because the only way anything, like when we say we have the right to do this, it's all by force. You know what I mean? So it's like, how do you enforce good values upon people? That's impossible, it seems.
Right. It almost touches upon the idea of the noble lie, where it's like, I'm gonna deceive everyone into being better people. And it's like, is it worth it? Do the ends justify the means? It's almost like a Attack on Titan, or the you guys watch that that DC the Watchmen movie, right? Where like someone takes the blame so that the entire world can have a common enemy.
Like aliens, like Ronald Reagan says, we need some aliens to come together.
I mean, there's all sorts of different approaches to it, but the core idea is that how do you like does it like is the only way to make everyone like value the right thing, is brainwashing the only reliable technique, or can you just like convince everyone to have proper values just through just
Well,
persuasion, just
it's like they
truth?
say,
The
by lying, you're kind of diluting the truth, right?
Yeah, you crack a few eggs to make an omelet, perhaps. I mean, there's two approaches to try to spreading the truth, right? Like trick people into realizing it, or just be uh you know upfront with it. And sometimes stealth is a good option.
Yeah, stealth. Fundy, have you seen that meme? It's the Trojan horse meme, where someone is bringing the Trojan horse into the castle area, and
I don't
inside the
I don't know
Trojan
about the
horse,
meme, but I know the story.
yeah, in the flat Earth meme, there's a flat Earth inside the Trojan. So I just thought that
Oh,
was funny. Said that.
that's funny.
But yeah, these are great questions. I think having the ultimate truth is really what helps.
The ultimate truth, which unfortunately isn't testable or provable.
Well, I think we're talking about the delivery. How would you deliver it? And Fundy's saying maybe we deliver it through lies or through some trickery, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm just saying, there's two options, right? Sneak it in through the back door, or knock on the front door, ring the doorbell. So there's two ways to get inside of a house.
That was my solution. It gets a lot of negative feedback, but yeah, propagandizing the truth can be an option. So you could propagate those ideas, and then you would have to public shame as well. So I know these things suck. You know, I mean, it's not like the greatest, but it seems to have actual. It like works. By propagandizing something and then public shaming, like for drunk driving, for example. We make a propaganda thing that
So
says
what's
drunk
what's
driving is bad, and then we publicly shame people at the bar when they try to go to their car and stuff. So yeah, it works.
But then we've
so
become our enemy. If we blame the current state on the world, let's just sum it all up under the umbrella term, the Illuminati, right? Oh, the Illuminati, the world is the way it is because they've, propagandized all of us. And it's like, we want to do something about it. But to achieve the solution to the current problem, we have to become the Illuminati, the secret shadowy influencers that control the whole world through deceptive means, but for the right reason would be the difference. It's like, we'd have to become who we hate.
Well, if we take an example of Moses, you just go to the gates, and take an example from Martin Luther, just go to the gates, start sharing the truth.
Moses didn't make it into the promised land, my brother.
That's okay. At least the people he led were able to. He had something even better than the promised land waiting for him.
Only the children. And Joshua and Caleb. That's it. All the others of that generation had to all die before they were allowed to enter in.
The first
When's
through
the last
the
time-
wall get a bloody nose, for sure. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
When's the last time you guys directly prayed, how do I save the entire world?
I have. You know what's so funny you say that, Fundy? I was with my friends one day, and we were talking about the world leaders and how corrupt it was, and they said they were just so negative. So it really bothered me. So I went home, and I laid down on my couch, and I just prayed, and I was envisioning my head. I was shooting this thought into a world leader. It was, oh, no, warmonger. And I was just envisioning, I didn't know who it was going to go to, but I just kept thinking, I'm going to plant into a warmonger's mind to do the right thing. And literally, like a week later, that's when Trump came out and said they were doing talks with North Korea. And I was like, whoa. I know it's probably just a coincidence, but I do believe that prayers they're powerful.
I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that was all you, man. I give you the credit for that one.
I know. No, I don't know. I just thought it was odd because that was the first time North Korea was ever. I was just envisioning in my mind, just planting it into a warmonger's mind, and maybe that was Trump. Because I was so inspired with my friends being so negative. So I went down and I was just using I was praying and using my imagination, just literally planting it into their mind. And yeah, I think it was like less than a week. That's when the big news about Trump talking to North Korea. I just thought it was funny. It was just a personal thing.
That was your opportunity to glorify Yahuwah.
Yeah, we need peace talks. We need to get rid of all these weapons, in my opinion. Get on the same page. At least, okay, everyone have your own book, but at least the index or some page, we're all aligned. Where we meet, we interact, we intersect in this world, and we can high five each other and say, amazing, keep going.
Yolanda.
So I got a much better understanding now of what's going on with those pyramids. So yeah, it's probably best I just send the video that I think did the best job. But it all of the stuff that this one people posted, the whole synthetic uh aperture radar satellite imagery, which detects subtle micro vibrations somehow from outer space on the surface of the pyramid, giving them some sort of resonance signature that they can then try to plug into a program that will, give these readings type of thing. Like, yeah, by the way, I heard people talking about this earlier. There's no like penetrating radar or X-ray or anything like that going on. The technology they say they're using just observes the outside surface of the pyramid and measures little micro vibrations in the surface, which then they say gives them a little insight as to hollow cavities inside of it that somehow reveal themselves by the vibrations on the surface that they're looking at from outer space, I guess is the idea, which is weird. Even though some of the images seem to be like profile shots, I'm like, well, are you sure there isn't like a land-based sensor or something? I don't know. It's very confusing, but
What do you think? Do you think it's legit, that stuff? Like, I know we've been looking at it. Like,
not
you
even a
think
little bit.
Okay.
Not even the slightest bit. The same team scanned the pyramids with a similar technology in 2002, and then they did their press conference and released a PDF and stuff like that. And I'll just go ahead and post the video that I think does the best breakdown on it that I've come across. It's super in depth. Let me just search my clipboard here. No, it's not there. Okay, I'll go find it in my YouTube history and post it. And he, yeah, he does an amazing job just showing like what are. Oh, here we go. Copy and paste. Anyways, this guy does an amazing job going through the actual like data and stuff like that, and he points out so many issues he finds with it. Like when they do these scans, it doesn't ever show any of the chambers that we already know are there, like the king's chamber and the queen's chamber. They don't show up on their scans. So how can you say that it's showing that there's other rooms if you're not even detecting the ones that we know are there in the first place? And that's true. That's true for the 2002 scan as well as the one that just happened a week ago. And then also, he breaks down like, okay, here's the scans they did with their micro vibration surface satellite radar synthetic aperture shit, whatever. And he's like, all right, so here's the raw data, and then here are the 3D models that they interpreted the data to create a visual for us. And he's just like, I have no idea how they're turning this into that. There's not any like clear connection. It's basically just taking like a bunch of blurry smeared colors and then turning it into this big convoluted 3D model. It's like, wait, how the hell did you interpret that 3D model out of just this blurry mess of colors? They're not even close to resembling each other.
Sounds like astronomy.
Yeah, they're strong manning their own data. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that a sensationalizing company that does shitty work pretty much, pranks the entire internet. Also, I don't know if you guys caught when they're talking about the halls of Amenti. Just want to let you know that the term halls of Amenti have never been mentioned in any sort of Egyptian text. That expression only appears from that like 1970s book by that fictional writer, or in that book, The Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean, which is just a complete fictional book with a similar title to the real historical artifact called the single Emerald Tablet of Thoth, which has nothing in common with what a lot of people, including that one comedian. Who's that one comedian that like insulted the Joe Rogan people? He brought it up. So did Kent Howard. I'm so sick of people conflating the book written in the 70s to like the super duper ancient actual Emerald Tablet of Thoth, just because there's a book written in the recent history with the same title. It's like they're not the same thing. One's legit and one's just a fictional book some guy wrote recently. And people treat people treat the Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean as some sort of ancient text. It's like, gosh, geez, nothing worse than that.
There's definitely something there. You can't
Definitely
just throw
something
the
where
baby out
what?
with the bathwater just because there's bad interpretations. It's like
It's not an interpretation. It's not an interpretation. The Emerald Tablet of Thoth or Hermes, whatever, it's a single paragraph long. The Emerald Tablet of Thoth the Atlantean is an entire book. One's historical and ancient. One's just literally a fictional book some guy wrote a few years ago. But a lot of people think the book that was written a few years ago, just because it has the same name as an actual ancient writing, is also ancient. Which is something I hear people get confused all the time. It bothers me a lot.
Well, essentially everything is like that, though.
Anyways, the halls of Amenti are only mentioned in this book. It's not like an Egyptian belief. However, the word Amenti alone, it did mean like the underworld or the Western Horizon. And any of you guys know why the Western Horizon and the underworld are referred to as the same word?
Because that's where the sun sets.
Yeah, because that's where the sun dies and goes to the underworld. It's born in the east and then it's in the heavens, at noon, and then it dies and goes to the underworld on the western horizon. Yeah, it goes to Amenti, as they would say. But in that 1970s fictional book, right, he said the halls of Amenti are located underneath the Sphinx or the pyramid or whatever, where an ancient UFO spaceship that they used to ride around on. That's a single atom thick, lies below underground next to the eternal sleeping God. And it's like, oh, that's just some shit some guy in the 70s said. However, the word amenti itself is, an ancient term. But it's funny because these people who are talking about their really shitty interpretations of their shitty data from a non-existent satellite that's measuring microvibration on the surface that they're interpreting into 3D models, they said, we've discovered the true halls of Amenti. It's like, that's not even a thing. And you shouldn't use language like that. It's embarrassing. By the way, I'm not saying there aren't, these 8 parallel wells or whatever. It's just that given the data that they provide, that's a there doesn't seem to be any sort of like step by step reasoning as to why they would make such a bold claim. They just put, the blurry color coordinated data next to their 3D modeling, like imagined interpretation of what the data is showing, and is like, it doesn't even look close. Oh yeah, watch that video by the Landa Chem YouTube channel or whoever he is. That's a really good video.
Why were they able to just do it now? Like, what was?
Because of this new technology that this one company supposedly developed with their own proprietary software called synthetic aperture radar. And they're the only ones who knows how it works, and the only one who has it. And I guess they got some sort of satellite with some sort of special sensor. And like I said, it's not ground penetrating or X-ray or anything like that involved. They're just measuring the micro vibrations, they say, like optically, of the surface of the pyramid, and interpreting those vibrations as giving them insight, like literally insight. You know what I mean? To the internals of the thing that they're measuring the surface of.
I tried to process that. I really did.
Not that that's a ridiculous. Maybe this will help you understand. Like, there's this scene in the movie Eagle Eye. I think that's what it's called. I think it's like Shia LaBeouf in it or something. But there's this AI computer, and the people are afraid of it spying on them, so they go into like a safe room. Right? It has windows, but there's no cameras inside the room, or microphones inside the room. But the AI software, or whatever, it uses the security cameras, and it zooms in through the window of the room to the surface of a glass of water, and it reads like the cymatics vibrations on the surface of a glass of water in their room, and reconstructs those vibrations and interprets it into the words that they're saying. You know what I mean?
So they're getting the images from like satellite, so from above down
Yeah.
onto the surface of, and they're detecting some kind of emission coming from it.
Yeah, I guess they're just saying that if you knock on, if you knock on a bowling ball, and you knock on a ball the same size as the bowling ball, but one's hollow and the other one is full, of matter, that the surface is going to vibrate differently depending on if you're knocking on something hollow or something that's full.
So they're sending a
But then
signal
they're
into
saying
it.
that it's partially hollow, and they can somehow analyze the vibrations to determine which parts of this object that they're watching the vibrations of, which parts of it are hollow.
So they're bouncing a signal off of it.
No, they're not bouncing anything. They're just watching it with some sort of LiDAR type technology.
What affects the emission then? I don't really. I guess I guess I can look it up. What would a keyword?
Well, I posted a video of a guy who does an amazing breakdown of it. He basically just goes sentence by sentence through their PDF they provided with all the pictures and all of their information. So yeah, just watch that video or go to his links and read it for yourself, whichever way.
Okay.
I hope I'm not wrong. I feel like I comprehended what was in the video pretty well. But the only reason I think that I might have something wrong is because the images they provide are sometimes from like a profile view of the pyramid, not a top down one. So like, wait, are you saying the satellite was on the horizon when it took this measurement or whatever. Like, how do you get this, side view of the pyramid scan? Because if it's a satellite, I imagine all the views would be from above. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't have the answer to that question of my own. But I mean, the video goes into the exact, PDF they release themselves. So he's not like strawmanning them at all. He's just going sentence by sentence and evaluating it. And it doesn't look good, honestly. It looks like it just looks really shitty. It's not convincing at all what they're saying based on the data that they've released so far. It looks like some shit like a fifth grader would make or something if he was trying to lie and he wasn't a very good liar. But there's a chance they're telling the truth and they're just very bad at explaining themselves. That's the only other option, I guess.
So I've noticed since I haven't really been on the server much, but I've noticed since the final experiment that there's a lot of people that were big personalities that have kind of jumped ship from, it seems, from the flat Earth thing. Is that what's going on? Is it like crickets, or is there still a lot of engagement going on?
I can't imagine who you're talking about besides Witsit. Is there someone else that used to come around here that you haven't seen in a while besides him?
No, there's personalities from YouTube. I didn't want to like throw names out.
Oh, I thought you meant in this server.
No,
You're talking
I
about
was
on
talking
YouTube.
more just
Okay.
in general on. I haven't really been on the server that much. I just noticed there's several personalities that I was basically involved in my early stages of that have pretty much jumped ship. And I found it interesting. I wasn't sure if that was because one of the big things the Flutter thing had on was that it's got like a 99.9% retention rate, and there's some people that used to say that are now not. I thought it was
Like
interesting.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's quite interesting you asked that question. I've just posted 2 videos regarding the topic matter just now. You'll see them right there in the live stream text, okay? One looks at the sun and the timelines that they're meant to be watching this.
Alan and St. Pierre took over Spacebusters, and I
want to see a tiny man in the distance and a large man in front of you, and you want to interpret that vision, as that guy who appears tiny actually is tiny. I just don't consider that the sense is lying to you. That's how that person appears to be, and the eyes are telling you how that person appears to be.
Yeah, excellent. That's an excellent way to put it, and it's down to the individual to discern because perspective. That's
Expectations, right, of some sort of social construct of your expectations of things on like a pattern recognizing basis. You're trying to logically apply, but when your eyes tell you that man has tattered clothing and your nose tells you he smells like shit, that is the truth. And also, his appearance isn't deceiving because his appearance is simply his appearance. He looks like he's dressed like a piece, like a tattered clothing. And the truth is, yes, that is the truth. He is dressed that way. The only thing that can be deceiving is your own interpretation to yourself, where you might make some incorrect assumptions. But it isn't the appearance that's deceiving; it's your assumptions are just incorrect based on pattern recognition and cultural context.
That we're privileged
Right.
enough to only know one language.
Right, I was
Most
gonna say,
places and most places and history, like times and places and histories, most people learn multiple languages. That's still the case for today. If you have any international friends, most likely they speak more than one language.
Right. I don't know how many examples I'm aware of though, where besides the one I listed about Chinese, because it's not like I have my Florida English and then when I do business or something written so long ago. So I just find that to be a little confusing and a lot to handle and keep in mind. Where it's like, oh, the oldest version of something, but it was discovered only 100 years ago. So how do you really describe something as like the oldest one we have access to? If you've had like a Bible for the past 600 years, or kept within a church or country or a set of hands in a family, right? Is that the oldest Bible we have, or is this one we found in a cave 50 years ago the oldest Bible we have? There's like 2 different standards you can apply, I guess. Especially if you want to be like uber skeptical and only trust something's like historicity to the day it was discovered, because you don't necessarily have to trust the dating methods people try to apply to things they find buried in the ground.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And in fact, I think they did find those are great questions. I think they did even find something older than the Dead Sea Scroll. I did learn about that recently. It was youngest of his child of his family, and he actually followed the commandments of his father. So he was kind of like the favorite, and his brothers didn't like that, so they eventually threw him in a cave, and they wanted to kill him, but instead of killing him, they sold him into slavery. And eventually, because he followed his commandments still while in slavery, he really stood out, and he worked his way up the ranks. Eventually, he became because they realized he was actually able to tell dreams. The pharaoh at the time had some nightmares, so they brought him to the pharaoh, and the pharaoh knew that because this man wasn't scared, he wouldn't bow down to the pharaoh because he realized this man bowed down to a greater god. So he kind of felt like, oh, I could trust this man because everyone else is kissing my, they're just telling me what I want to hear. So he actually listened to what he had to say, and then he put him in charge of, second in charge of all of Egypt. And when his brothers were starving in the desert, they overheard that there was a righteous man in Egypt. So they were convinced the father, right?
And tell you, fuck, like,
then when the world is restored again from the fall of man at the end of time by Jesus Christ, again, the animals will not eat each other. So it's only in this period in between where man is still fallen that animals are going to eat each other and death exists.
Well, that's a really consistent response, and yeah, I hear you know it, and I hear you, Eden. You guys got all over. I don't know if you guys completely agree with each other. Probably not. You're two different people, but you know that's consistent along the string of logic you're presenting. You know, I think on the opinion-based things, which ultimately comes down to, I still disagree. But you know, it's just that I do compliment the whole Garden of Eden narrative as like a good sort of like premise, you know, because in my opinion, the Garden of Eden is this attempt, and then the whole Adam and Eve and sin and getting kicked out thing. In my opinion, that's like a really good attempt to describe an origin and how it relates to the circumstances we find ourselves in right now. Now, what you're saying could be the truth, or maybe it's just a you know an attempt, like I was saying. Right,
but you're appealing to a possibility. You're saying it could or couldn't be true. It's possible. You're just appealing to possibility. It's not actually an argument. Like to actually critique it, you either need to bring an internal critique, so how the worldview is inconsistent with itself, or bring an external critique, something like, oh, we have evidence of evolution, therefore this cannot be a critique. You know what I mean? Like to actually critique a worldview, there's two lanes, external or internal. What you're doing is neither. You're just appealing to possibility, right? So
I'm appealing to possibility, trying to give you guys you know as long as a leash as possible. Because if I was appealing to reality, which I feel like is the baseline here, I'd say, the world seems to be a place where we've been, you know, no one decided to be born. None of us decided any of this, right? And so appealing just to reality itself, seems like we've been thrown into an arena where the only way to live is to murder and eat each other's flesh. Now, I'm appealing to possibility that some words that someone once wrote down, you know, I'm giving that handout there. You know what I mean? That, oh, this is actually not a situation that we were put in, but we put ourselves in this situation, which I've never really aligned with the idea that children should be punished for the sins of their parents. You know, humans don't operate the way in court, but God seems to host his court by those rules that Adam and Eve fucked up, so now you need to be punished and eat you know, murder and eat each other's flesh to survive. Like,
we don't eat each other's flesh. We're not cannibals.
I'm not talking about humans. I'm talking about the animal kingdom.
Well, yeah, man was given dominion over the earth, and so by man falling, the earth fell as well. And also God cursed the earth. Yeah.
Let's just take the lions. And first, you know, second of all, you know, when I said each other's flesh, I didn't mean human on human, even though that is an option in desperate measures. You know, whatever mad cow disease or whatever the similar thing is, it definitely causes health issues, right? But you can do that if it was necessary. But still, you know, we live in a world where we are seemingly forced to murder and kill each other and eat each other's flesh to survive. And I don't mean human on human. I mean each other as in life forms. But if you want to blame Adam and Eve for that they're the result of it, I still just can't get down with the idea that I'm punished for the sins of my great so on grandfather and grandmother.